All right, welcome back. This is Coaching with Mr. Adam, and it is Friday. Yes, another Friday. You know what that means. We do Friday transformation every Friday. And what we try to do, or what we aim to do, is provide you with some food for thought before you kick it on your weekend and have your self-care moments. And if it's not me, I always bring someone on through to bless us with a topic, to give us some great gems and information. And today we have Michael Sykes coming into the building. I'm going to give you a round of applause there, right? And Michael Sykes is a partner of Coaching with Mr. Adam. And today the topic, Michael, is going outside to heal inside. And you know how we do every time we bring a guest through. Love for you to just share your thoughts on that meaning of going outside to heal inside for our people.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Adam. Going outside to heal inside. Yeah, that when you told me a little bit about this, like it really resonated with me. Even thinking about the last couple of days in Colorado, below freezing temperatures, it is chilly. Um, but still important to know. Hmm, what you need to heal. And so just because it's chilly outside doesn't mean that it has to be chilly inside. So like a lot of times I'm telling people to like check your heart and check your spirit. And what I mean by that is like how does your heart feel? It's like sometimes when we're not intentional with our healing, our heart gets below temperature. And so that heart rate slows down. It's kind of like on this autopilot, like it's kind of like rest. And then I say like we need to go outside so we can connect with the earth, so we can be in the elements, so it can like literally feed our spirit to increase that heart rate. Oftentimes, like for me, I'm like, oh, I don't want to go outside because it's cold, and I didn't want to go work out yesterday. But going outside allowed me to stay consistent with my practices, so I can pour back into myself. And what's really coming up to me is not about the practices, it's about practicing. Two totally different things. Sometimes we have knowledge of all the practices that work, but we're not practicing the practice. So going outside to heal inside, I'm being consistent on pouring into me and doing what works for Mike Sykes. And so even if I go outside for a walk a little bit later, the first thing I need to do is get my mindset right. If I say it's freezing cold outside and it's going to hurt, it's going to be freezing cold outside and it's going to hurt. But if I say this is an opportunity to center myself, then it's an opportunity to center myself. What you speak and what you focus on becomes your intentions. So I'm trying to speak life into me. I'm trying to manifest everything that I need in these different moments so I can heal inside. So when I'm going out there, I'm like, oh, yes, this is the opportunity to center myself. When I'm centering myself, I start thinking of all these things, like all the stuff that I have accomplished. And then I have a certain angle on my block, and when I look up, it's the mountains. And the mountains are like a foundation, a rock. And when I think of mountains and a foundation and a rock, I think about my grandma. She's my foundation, she's my rock, she's my why. So I'm able to walk outside to center myself to see the mountains that brings my grandma, so to speak, into sight. That's healing. That is healing for me because that's she's my why. And so when I feel close to her, I feel closer to myself. That's kind of like my guiding light. When I feel close to her, I know I'm doing the right thing. It doesn't mean I don't get pushback. It doesn't mean like it's easy, but I'd rather be close to her and feel her love and live in my purpose and my why than to do anything else. And so like these are some of the things I go outside to heal inside because I know what works for me, and I get to be closer to my grandma who's my light and my purpose, my why. Um, and when I'm talking to her while I'm walking, we're having conversations, I'm telling her how what I've done. She's telling me how proud she is of me, and she's like, I knew it. And I'm like, Grandma, guess what I did? I wrote a book. Grandma, guess what I did? I'm did this. Grandma, guess what I did? And she's just smiling, like you're start like you're starting to see like there's Neo in the Matrix. It's like one of my favorite movies, and there's a point where Neo's when when you see an agent, like everybody's run because like they can't deal with agents, and there's a point in the movie where Neo stops running and turns around, and everybody's like, "What is he doing?" And Morpheus is like, he's starting to believe. And like when I'm talking to my grandma, I'm not running. I'm believing in everything that she knew I was. So like when I get to be in those spirits and I get to be in those moments, it's everything to me. And so now I'm going outside to heal inside, and I'm being consistent in that practicing, so I can be in those moments more often because I know
Yeah.
that pours into my spirit. That makes me grow as a man. It makes me grow as a father. It makes me grow as a partner, as a son, uh, as a brother, as a friend. Like you got to be consistent in how you're pouring into yourself because you want to show up for loved ones in a way that resonates with them. So you're not just giving them empty parts of yourself and you're thinking you're giving them a lot, but you're really not giving them anything. So when I'm closer to her, the fuller I am. So it's not, so my cup isn't just filled, it's running over. I have abundance of what I can pour into other people. I can't like pouring from I'm not I'm not even pouring from a full cup. Like that's mine. That's me. But everything
Yep.
that's extra, I'm going to give to this world, and I want to make sure I have abundance of water in my cup all the time because this world needs love, and that's what I was put on this earth to do is to give love and light.
Michael, you shared a bunch of things there, and I love a lot of everything you said there in terms of how you manifest by going outside, the things that outside, how outside, yeah, it takes you outside, but it sounds like what you're sharing with me when you're going outside, whether it's to maintain your practices, to have those beautiful conversations with your grandma, right? They're almost taking you somewhere outside, but then other place than outside, right? So as you know, one of the things I love to advocate for our people, specifically Black and Brown people, and that's why I have a podcast called Black and Brown in the Woods, is because as a person who served many Black and Brown families outside, I saw the tremendous healing in it, right? I saw how a camper will come to my camp for 2 weeks. And the first couple days, they were homesick, right? They didn't like the food, they didn't like the activities, they didn't like the staff members. And by the end of the week, they love it all, right? They love it all. You can see the growth in them. You can see that you can see a certain element of freedom in their eye as they're running around camp
Yeah.
enjoying activities, right? And it's really the power of outside. And when we created or when I created that podcast, the immediate tagline that came to me was going outside to heal inside. But it was also a conversation I wanted to have with folks. And you said something similar to another person I proposed this question to and this thought to, right? And that was, that person mentioned about the freedom um, coming from Chicago, south side of Chicago. She said, there was a certain freedom of leaving her house in the morning and just kind of roaming the neighborhood, whether it was playing double dutch for 3 hours, right? She said there was this certain freedom that came with it. So, and just kind of encompassing all those things, the things you shared, that freedom that comes with it, the healing that comes with it, I guess from your standpoint, knowing how much it resonates for you, I guess what would be your thoughts of, sharing that experience or those thoughts with someone else in terms of you had to encourage someone to enjoy the outside, right? Because you're right, there's people who rather stay inside. They rather stay home, or they might stay indoors because it's too cold. It's funny because I asked a friend my other day, man, let's go for a walk. He said, brother, it is too cold outside. I was ready to bundle up, right? I was like, let's go ahead and bundle up right quick. So in saying that, like any thoughts around, maybe someone who might not be able to or not tapping into that outside element, as special as you bring it in terms of the elements that it provides when you're going outside to maintain practices or to have those beautiful conversations or just to take in fresh air or catch a bird in the sky or whatever. What are those thoughts I guess you can give to our listeners about maybe a 1-2 step here, a 1-2 punch of these are some things you could do to embrace the outdoors, tap into the outdoors for healing?
Yeah, I like what the other person said, the freedom. And oftentimes, like if we're stuck in a cycle of harm, of trauma, like we have to do something different. If we don't, we're going to keep getting the same things that we always gotten. Going outside, you brought something up, it allows me to take breaths. It allows me to slow down, bring light and love into my lungs and to my body and exhale insecurities. And it allows that brings me to center. And then to see the wilderness or nature, that it creates a different freedom. And it also creates a different level of joy because you can appreciate little things like a bird sitting in a tree, like how they're perched on a tree. I was literally driving the other day and I look up and I see two bald eagles on this lamppost and they're just like kind of like looks like they're just resting its head on another. And I was just like, wow, like look at nature, look at God work. I had appreciation and I had gratitude just to see two animals in connection, in relation to each other. And it made me instantly think about how am I being intentional with being in relationships with others, connected to others? Am I taking the time in moments when it's cold or hot and whatever just to connect? And like not just with people, but to myself. Like, am I listening to my spirit? Am I listening to my heart? Am I listening to my mind? And what are they saying? Am I acting upon it? And then like when you're outside, things get quieter. So you can actually hear yourself. When you're in the house, you got the TV on, you got all this other stuff going. Like it's noise, it's busyness. When you're outside in nature, you can appreciate the stillness and the quietness. And so now you have to look in the mirror, or it's easier to look in the mirror. And then when you can look in the mirror, you can ask yourself some questions. I say, have some courageous conversations with self. Who am I? Who do I want to be? Why is all this stuff happening to me? What part did I play in it? Who, what am I willing to give up to be the person that I know I'm meant to be? And what's my next first best step? And so affirming, saying nice things to yourself. One thing that a colleague of mine said you can make mistakes, but you're not a mistake. And I was like,
Wow.
"Ooh, that's fire." And it's just like God created me on purpose, and He doesn't make any mess ups. So no matter what I've done, the mistakes I've made, like I'm still deserve dignity. I deserve to be valued, and I deserve to be validated. And I can do that by taking time to explore self. And nature helps bring you to center so you can dive deep.
I appreciate that, Michael. And you're so right. I think that dive deep is the great part of it, right? And it makes me think when you were talking about well, when the other individual I spoke to talked about the freedom and some of the things you mentioned, it just reminded me of a gentleman I met at a conference, and I actually gave him a drive, like a lift to the hotel, his hotel, because we were going in the same direction. And as I was talking to him, he was like, I told him I was based in Colorado, and he was like, "Oh, do you ever go skiing?" And I kind of looked at him. It was a brother, and I was like, "No, I've never been skiing in my life." I said, "This wasn't something that was attainable where I came from." And he was like, "Well, I'm part of this skiing league where we bring almost 1,000 black skiers to. It was either Aspen or Vail to ski for the weekend." And while mentioning this was, when he was speaking about it, skiing is so foreign to me. And I felt, and maybe through relation, I was like, is it foreign to him? But it was his connection of outside that really
Mhm.
inspired me, right? It was like, skiing is a part of it, but it's being outside. And he's like, when I'm sloping down those mountains, he's like, yes, the skiing is a big part of it, but he's like, where my mind and heart is really at is being outside, that sun hitting me, all the nature just taking it in. And it just really inspired me where, it kind of convinced me skiing. I ain't still going to ski, but it kind of convinced me. I was like, he almost got me there. I think two more blocks, he would have had me convinced. But I think the special thing, what I learned from the gentleman, who's just a great, wise man, like, his way of going outside might not be the same way as others, right? Like his was skiing. I love hiking, right? That's my jam. But I got close friends who are like, I don't want to hike at all, right? And I think there's big and small steps to really embracing the outdoors, right? And you can take them in any way you need to that serves you, that serves your purpose and where you're at in life. And like you, Michael, I think one of the things I've done in my life, especially recently, is after COVID. One of the things I wanted to do to increase the connection of my union with my wife was we ventured into walking, and walking really saved our marriage. And it went from walking to hiking, and we would do these 5 mile hikes. We would stay quiet for a couple miles just to have our own individual reflection. But then we had 3 miles just to talk, right? And the great thing about that is those five became kind of seven, then they became kind of 10, right? And when you got 5 miles to walk with someone that you have disagreements with, in the middle of the woods, you ain't got no choice but to talk about some things, right? Like it's all there. And also you have time to just not talk about it and feel ready to talk about it. And I think that's the beauty of outdoors. So one, I appreciate you jumping in on this topic. This is not really a how to or here's the steps to fix things. I really just wanted Michael's thoughts on the going outside to heal inside, as you share a lot of great affirmations and information on your page. So, in saying that, last words, wanted to give you the last words. Any last thoughts, last words for our listeners about going outside to heal inside?
Yeah, you named a couple of them. Sometimes people don't want to go for a hike or go for a walk or go skiing or in any of these things because they think they have to make this monumentous step. Like a block counts, 10 feet counts.
Mm-hmm.
Like so if you can't walk a mile, walk point 1 mile of a mile. Like you can take 100 steps. Like those things count. Walk for 10 seconds and turn 10 into 20. That's double the amount of time or distance you walked. If you can't go skiing, go sledding. Like you can go
Mm-hmm.
to different parts. There's some stuff in Green Valley. There's some stuff in City Park. There's some stuff in Central Park you can sled. So now you can kind of get used to being in the outdoors and that nature in the snow. And you don't might not like the cold. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think what we are saying, like figure out what works for you and how you connect with nature. Is that you sitting in your living room and having the sun, that morning sun beam on you? Like, yes, like these things literally change like the chemistry in your body. It helps release endorphins. It does something for you. And like the word, what I'm saying is like you deserve everything good that's coming your way. Like
Mhm.
I want you to go for walks. I want you to go outside, to go inside, because like I want my people to not necessarily do better. I want them to feel better. I want
Right.
my people to smile more.
Mhm.
I want more joy in the world. And I'm like, be consistent with that practice. No, I want you to be practicing joy consistently. And I know a lot of us have been through a lot, and we're sick or tired of being sick or tired. Our hearts are heavy. And Brian Hippolyte, I believe that's his last name, he said, trauma's not your fault, but healing's your responsibility. I want us to be intentional in how we're pouring into ourselves so we can heal. So we can heal, not just individual in your heart, but collective healing. And I also want us to understand like we shouldn't be searching for different facts and different things outside of ourselves for validation. Like, why are we searching for facts when we're the truth? We're
Yeah.
right. We survive 100% of our worst days. So, like, if you
Yeah.
need evidence, just look in the mirror. Like, that's how dope we are. So, like, I really want us to start moving forward in a different way. We got to start vibrating at a different frequency so we can manifest everything that we're meant to be and everything that we are. We are kings and queens and we are deserving of greatness. And so like I tell people, put your crown on or straighten it up because it's
Mhm.
ours. You don't have to ask permission to put your crown on because it's already on your head. It's up to
Right.
you if you want to see it there or not. And when I see people, I see their superpowers in their crown. And so I created Easy Equity, a book to like support people with putting their crown or recognizing their crown that they inherited. Like they don't have to do anything, nothing, just because they take in breaths. Like they're deserving of that. But going outside to heal inside is like that's one of the first steps. You can't heal when you're mean to yourself. 80% of self-talk is negative.
Right.
80% of self-talk is negative. So we're meaner to ourselves than probably anybody else can. I can say I was that person. But if I start talking nice to myself, I can go from 80/20 to 70/30. Imagine how my life is going to change. If I can get to 50/50, yeah, I'm unstoppable. What if I'm 80% of affirmations and only 20% of denying language? Then like it's just like Neo. Then I start to see the code. Then it's just seeing the code. So then it's just like, nah, this ain't real. This is a computer system. I'm the one, and I just want everybody to understand. Y'all are the one. We are the one, and it's time to and unplug the negative self-talk and start affirming ourselves in ways that we never have before, so we can go places and be people that we never have.
Michael, I really enjoy speaking to you, man. And I mean that wholeheartedly, man. I ain't saying that with no fluff at all. I love the way you think about things, man. It got layers. It's not one sheet. I can say that. My man Michael got layers, and I really value that in a person, right? Especially in thinking, because I think when we're trying to transform ourselves, do something different. Like right now, we're talking about the power of just going outside, right? And you hit the nail on the head. It ain't got to be the 10-mile hike. Just walk around your neighborhood. Take your neighborhood in right quick. See your neighbors, right? Say hi, whatever it is. But those baby steps in embracing the outdoors and taking those outdoors in. So, in saying that, I want to thank Michael for coming through. Another clap right quick. The Friday transformation. He mentioned his book, Easy Equity. We will have a link in the description, so you can check that out. Michael will be on another part of our platforms, as I'm going to bring them back to different spaces. But just thank you, everybody, for coming through and listening to this Friday Transformation. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can get this goodness every week, because I'm going to always bring it every week. We staying consistent every week. And the big thing here, as you know, my last question to everybody, as this has been the ongoing theme with these videos, is who's helping you heal, y'all? Peace.